still, but yes, registration has started. Welcome, everybody. Good morning. This is our third IAFA event on pre-standardization, the third one and last one of a series of events that we've been running between March and May 2024, which are about challenges and needs and requirements of pre-standardization. And this is a series that is being conceived to try to help SNS JU projects formulate necessary steps towards standardizing research results and to find, let's say, to orient themselves, let's put it this way, within the standardization landscape. I just want to share my screen very quickly for you to show you just a couple of housekeeping details. So again, this is a third event of a series of 3 events. It's entitled Next Steps, 6G Trials and Testing, and we have the pleasure to have the FIDO projects with us today, presenting on their challenges. This is a very interesting presentation, which will be the first one of the day from David Arteniedo-Guillen, who will actually not be here in presence, but he sent us a very nice recording, a very nice video where he explains has been doing. So I encourage you all to watch this and then perhaps to send any questions to him directly. The video is going to be played in 2 minutes. And then we will have our two experts that have been together with us for the whole duration of the event. And we thank them for their participation and for their enthusiasm and contribution. These are Mulzi Melkotov, Principal Solution Architect at Vodafone, who's going to present on how data spaces and data sharing are playing a role in green use cases standardization. And the second person is Tasos Dajuklas, presenting on towards sustainability SDG goals in 6G. He's the head of Cognitive System Research Center at London South Bank University. They're going to be with us, and we will have a poll session with the audience for both events. This is going to be a bit of a different one compared to the previous ones, because we will not talk so much, let's say, about not only, let's say, about the topics of the presentation, but we will also ask the public to provide us insights on how they would like the next steps to be, okay? The next presentations, whether they think there will be the need for a second event series in the future and all of that. Bit of housekeeping, the event will be recorded and it will be made available on the SNS-OPS and HSbooster channels in the next days. We encourage to enter any question in the chat, and the speakers will be pleased to answer back in real time. We'll also have polls on mentimeter.com, and you can follow the chat to be informed and receive link on what we will do on the main outputs, okay, and publications of this event series. Okay, remember to join us at mentimeter.com by entering the code here, or to by joining the link. We will also send it in the chat as the session will go forward. Okay, without further ado, I will stop sharing for a second. I will prep the video and play it for you all. Just 1 minute. Unfortunately, FIDO project had an internal meeting today, so they could not be with us. But again, we have this very nice contribution from David, which we hopefully will make it up for their absence. And any questions can be directed to him. So I'll share my screen once again, together with alongside the audio. I will increase the volume for you all to listen to it. And hopefully you'll be able to hear it.
Hello, my name is David Arteniedo. I'm the standardization manager in FIDAL. And I'm going to talk about the challenges and opportunities in standardization from the experience in FIDAL, which is an Stream D project from the SNS Call 1 that started in January 2023. FIDAL is the Field Trials and Beyond 5G project. Is, as I said, one of the Stream D projects from the Call 1, and there were 4 projects that were approved in the or were funded in the first call. And the key objective that we have in FIDAL is to support beyond 5G experiments. We want to do trials, especially large-scale trials using the beyond 5G technology. and validating this trial with different use cases, with a special focus on network applications. We are creating a repository of network applications based on the use cases that we have defined in FIDAL. These are the goals that we want to achieve by the end of the project. We're setting up 3 labs with 3 associated large-scale facilities. Those are located in Greece, in Athens, in Spain, in Malaga, and in Norway, in Oslo. We're setting up an experimentation framework to test the beyond 5G technologies that includes AA as a service, a zero-touch management platform based on Maestro and OpenSlice, and the testing as a service for setting up all the tests that will be part of the experiments. We have several repositories in FIDAL. We are creating a network application repository. Most of these applications are coming from the use cases that we have defined in FIDAL, but also will come from the applicants from the open calls. We are collecting as well AI training data that in this repository, and of course we are including all the KPIs and KVIs from the results on the tests from the use cases that will take place in FIDAL. We are including as well a security framework that is part of the FIDAL framework. And we're focusing in 2 verticals, 2 main verticals in FIDAL. First one is media, extreme media. So we will see the use cases that we are defining for this. And the second one is PPDR for emergency services. And all the use cases in these 2 verticals will leverage or will take advantage of the beyond 5G evolution, and will start producing results for the 6G. In the open call, we are targeting almost 30 open callers, 30 use cases, technology additions, experiments that will be onboarded in the 3 testbeds and large-scale facilities that we have. And we will perform 3 large demonstrations to a wide audience. So from the StreamD FIDAL project, we see 3 main areas of opportunities for impacting the standardization. The first one is the development of the FIDAL use cases themselves. So we are working in several use cases that we will see in a minute. And these use cases can produce results that can become part of the standards. The second opportunity is around the FIDAL framework integration. So we are integrating different tools, open source tools. Some of them are hosted by SDOs, and of course, during this integration, we can produce results to improve these tools. And the third one is the KPI, KVA results from the use cases, not only the FIDAL use cases, but also the ones from the open calls. As I have mentioned, FIDAL is working in 2 main verticals, media and PPDR. In media, we have 4 use cases which are related to haptic technologies. We have a company providing a haptic vest that is able to produce sensations in the body of the users. This technology, which is popular in the video game industry, can be applied as well to training special forces or police forces. We have massive events in sports stadiums where people can consume content, but also produce content. User-generated content will be part of this use case. We have a very interesting use case around playing music from remote places. So we're going to have musicians playing simultaneously from different places, and this requires very low and controlled latency for players to be in sync. And finally, we have the smart village with smart services for the citizens. And in PPDR, we are creating a digital twin for first responders in an emergency situation. We have also the MCX, mission critical solution, that can be used for security events in cities. And finally, the XR technology that will be used as well in PPDR scenarios. All these use cases will be tested. We will collect KPIs, KVIs, and these results can produce impact in the standardization bodies. The second opportunity is around the FIDAL framework integration. This framework that we are building includes some open source tools like OpenSlice or OpenCapif. These tools are hosted by ETSI. Those are software development groups like OSM or TerraFlow SDN are the other two. And when integrating these components, well, the FIDAL partners are contributing with experience and code changes in these repositories from the lessons learned when integrating these tools. So this comes back, let's say, to the standardization community through these projects hosted by ETSI. And the third opportunity is around the results from the use cases. We have seen that in FIDAL we have 7 use cases, but we will be onboarding many more through the open calls. We have a target of 28, 30 additional use cases or technologies that can be integrated into the FIDAL testbed and large-scale facilities. We are focusing the open calls in the verticals, defining FIDAL, media, and emergency services. And we run the first call. We have a good number of applicants that apply to this first call, and we are now onboarding them to the FIDAL framework. The results from these use cases will produce KVIs and KPIs, and potentially these results will also serve for the defining aspects in the standards. But along with the opportunities presented before, we see also some challenges in impacting the SDOs. And I have highlighted here the 3 main challenges that we see from FIDAL. The first one is around the standardization gap, which is basically the gap that we have between the state of the art of the technology and the standards. The second one is the lack of reference implementations of these standards solutions. And the third one is the translation of the KVIs into the SDOs. If we look at the 3GPP release plan, so currently we are here, right? We are finishing release 18, starting release 19. From the standardization standpoint, okay? But the solutions that we can buy or we can get into our testbeds and our platforms are in the best cases release 16, maybe some release 17 software solutions, but main vendors are not there yet. There is this gap, that is 4 or 5 years gap. Release 16 is, I think, from 2020 or something like that. And in order that impact the status of the standards today, we need somehow to figure out how to fill this gap, how we get in our testbeds, in our solutions, technology that is currently in the forefront, let's say, of the standardization status, and enable us to test the latest technology to produce innovative results here. So filling up this gap is a challenge, definitely. The second challenge is the lack of reference implementations, and it's related to the previous one. I mean, we have the technology that we have today is not in the latest standards, and for many of these standards there are no reference implementations. So it's very hard to build a testbed that integrates the latest and greatest technology from the standards standpoint. I'm going to give you some examples here. For instance, this is the status of CAPIF framework. As you can see, there is a good adoption for the CAPIF standard. And there are some implementations in this case. By the way, this information is coming from a presentation in 3GPP from the end of last year. But if we look at other standards like SIL, for instance, we see that the landscape is much more empty. Yeah, so there is few adoption of these standards, and implementations are barely available. And if we look at HSAP, for instance, which is a critical component of the edge computing according to 3GPP, well, there are many activity in the SDOs, but there are no implementations. So if you want to use HSAP as part of your infrastructure to test some edge capabilities, you have no tools to do this according to 3GPP. And the last challenge is how to translate, how to convey the results from the experiments, from the trials, into the SDOs. So currently there are a lot of activity around KPIs and KBIs, both in the TMV working group, in EXA-X project, in some verticals. But it's hard for partners to figure out how the results, how these KPIs, KBI results can be channeled or conveyed into actions, into impact that comes to the standards. And well, this summarize the views and the perspective that we have from FIDAL project, from Stream D. Thank you very much, and if there are any questions, I will be glad to answer them offline. Thank you.
Okay. This was all as far as David's presentation goes. I think it was very straightforward. I also found it very informative in terms of many topics that he touched upon. I think these are, in many cases, topics that we've been discussing throughout the SNS community, from KVIs, KPIs, so now to integrate different applications and within standardization practice. I think it was very informative, and also we tried to contextualize what FIDAL is doing in terms of the developments of the project itself within the current standardization landscape, and he also showed us his own struggles and main issues as well as accomplishments so far. I think this was very informative, and I encourage you to ask any question to David, even just by writing in the chat, and I can redirect to him. I can put you in touch with him in case. But let's thank him in any case for his help and for the commitment of being with us in spite of his own other commitments. So thank you, David, once again. And I would like to now pass the ball to Muslim.
you very much, Claudio. I will start by sharing my screen and see. Does everybody see my screen? Just give me a sign.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, great. Yeah. So welcome everyone for the second part of today's session, part 3 of this exciting series, which is on 6G trials and testing and more wrapping aspects of the standardization and pre-standardization. I'm going to talk about the role of data in sustainability and in standardization. Claudio was kind enough to introduce me already, so you know who I am. I'm going to cover today some aspects like the power of data and what is the connection of this dimension of data, which is of course also the key, let's say, fuel or oil for AI. What is its connection to sustainability? How do they both coexist, interact, influence each other? I'm then gonna talk about data, sustainability, and standardization. So this triangle of these three aspects and how they, let's say, shape together this dimension, which is very important. I'm gonna give some examples about green energy saving use cases and how they are, let's say, data steered. What is the role of data and AI in shaping this landscape? I'm gonna briefly touch upon standardization aspects in data-driven green use cases, because you can imagine some, but I would like to give you some, let's say, insights on some that we already actually implemented, even as a showcase. And then finally wrap up and then move to the whole part with the Q&A for the audience. So moving on. So the power of data and its connection to sustainability. Let me put it this way. So we have, let's say, a lot of SDOs that we are dealing with, you know, HCITU, 3GPP, they're shaping the standards. We have some SDOs which are, let's say, or some fora, like for example, TM Forum, which are strong on data architectures and data, you know, modeling. And then you have a lot of, let's say, cross-disciplinary actions. For example, the European Directive on AI, on data protection. We also have in ENISA some standards. So there's a lot of, let's say, cross-vertical, cross-domain regulation regarding data. There are some SDOs and some, let's say, projects that drive forward the data, let's say, data spaces, data design, data modeling, data sharing. And how this all fits in when you think about the journey of this webinar series, you know, going from 5G to 6G. So data plays a key leverage or a key role. So for example, when you think of, for example, end-to-end security, or if you want to test, let's say, an end-to-end service or feature. So data protection is important. So you need to really ensure that data is protected in an end-to-end fashion, because if there's a single break or a small segment where it's not, then the whole thing doesn't make any sense. And then, of course, to have, let's say, more power in your use cases. So you have, for example, let's say, various access networks evolving from 5G to 6G. You also, in 6G, you know, there is this commitment not only to have native, let's say, built-in services like basic AI, like basic provisioning, modeling, and basic security, also to be in the same time, as we saw also last time from Tasos, as also we'll see today. So there is this effort to also be sustainable. So there is this kind of small paradox that masses of data are needed because they can be generated, because AI needs them, because computation needs them. Then there's the challenge to regulate this. At the same time, the data increase, according to Moore's law, creates, let's say, more energy consumption, creates more masses of things to handle. And then how do you, let's say, profit from this data, but still manage this paradox and be sustainable? This is one of the 6G challenges, to reincorporate these two, to have more data access, more powerful use cases, but still be more sustainable compared to 5G. We're going to see some efforts in this direction today, okay? So you can see this graphical discourse of what I just mentioned to you. And then we're going to look briefly at data, sustainability, and standardization. So for example, when you talk about data, there could be, let's say, scattered data pieces, but data is powerful when it is structured. You all heard this old XML standard, or how you group data into spaces, profiles. So there are some efforts in SDOs in some consortia that work with data spaces and data sharing. So to enable data sharing, you need to have clear structures that both parties can see. Before they share something, you need to know what is the structure. And two of these, let's say, core, there are more, but two of these core, let's say, initiatives is GAIA-X, which is the European sovereignty-powered, let's say, consortium for standardizing data exchange. It's called GAIA-X. And there's also IDSA, International or Industrial, they use both, Data Space Association, headquartered in Germany, Dortmund, but it's also international. We're going to give you a brief look at what these do and how partners in these consortia, let's say, manage this data sharing, data modeling, etc. Data space and data sharing also, they are driven by SDOs as well and by some projects. Examples are ETSI with a, let's say, minor track. 3GPP, of course, has to look at this, ITUT as well, and others. And also you have in the TM Forum, what is very known, the ODA, Open Digital Architecture. So to model APIs on a software platform that really manage data in a clear-cut way, you know, from indexing to cataloging, etc. And there are some Catalyst projects which are also hosted in TM Forum, which I was also part of. I will give you a small glimpse on how data sharing is done there. Also, a small glimpse into AI-driven resource optimization to enable green use cases. And then I'm going to touch upon sustainability briefly, standardization, how it's really handled, and in conjunction with these topics of 5G, 6G evolution, big data, and AI. So I'll be brief because, you know, we have time is precious, but feel free to reach out afterwards anytime if you want more insights. And, you know, this webinar is just the basis to open many channels. So GAIA-X, I will just briefly put it this way. You have in any aspect, if it's energy or if it's data, there is a set of users or consumers and set of providers. So in GAIA-X, it's, let's say, to enable kind of a federation logic to connect in optimal consolidated way the data users or consumers and data providers. And that's why you have the middle stratum, which is federation services here, grouped into functional categories like identity and trust, federated catalog of services, compliance, sovereign data exchange. Sovereignty means not losing your power and your rights over data that you share. And then you have on the lower part, you have the providers. So a CSP, communication service provider, like for example, Vodafone, Orange operators, network interconnection providers. So it could be, let's say, smaller or different kinds of players. You also have edge, let's say, players. Edge has a lot of data, and sector-specific clouds, which have, let's say, context data. So this is the lowest stratum of data providers in the ecosystem of data. And the upper one has, let's say, users, which includes, or data consumers. You have applications, let's say, in the AI category, in the IoT space, analytics, of course, AI analytics, they need a lot of data, big data in itself, you know, for mining purpose, automation, etc. So GAIA-X, what it does, it channels the upper scrambled stratum and the lower one into specific channels grouped functionally in the middle tier to enable their interactions and to enable, let's say, a consistent data exchange. This is basically based on data spaces, okay? So this is basically the concept of GAIA-X. Also here you can see it that today, it's already taking shape, but up to GAIA-X is really a massive presence. There was this any-to-any or many-to-many exchange and collaboration mechanism with all these colored arrows. And today it's more a group consolidated thing thanks to the GAIA-X. This from an architectural perspective when it comes to data consumption and you know, providing and etc. You can better, of course, monetize. You can better do many things when you have it. IDSA, it's, as I said, it's an association. Primarily what it does, it works on enabling stakeholders to participate, to monetize on their data. So data providers, they can, let's say, provide data to others. For example, you are an operator and you give, let's say, data of consumers, or let's say anonymized data, of course, with privacy protection, to a company which is doing, let's say, tourism, so that they can, let's say, do some path analysis and target customers better. So monetization is how do you monetize data that you have access to, because you cannot use it directly, but there are other stakeholders that need it. So how do you enable monetization, incentives, or kickbacks or swaps on data that you share? It's an important aspect. IDSA works on that. Also, of course, security and privacy, it's key. Without it, there's no sharing possible. And also the aspect of data sovereignty and how to model it in order to really, let's say, ensure that you're able to share data and not lose your sovereignty. Then you're encouraged, then, the monetization. So it's basically their two core, let's say, mission statements and what they strive for. And on the lower left corner, you can see IDSA made recommendations, and they implemented with Fraunhofer together what we call IDSA connector in the data space. So you have, let's say, stakeholders, you have different players in an ecosystem, operator, vendor, you have, let's say, SMEs. To share data among each other for a specific use case, you need a connector like your key to enter this protected data space. And this is the implementation. I will not go into details because we don't have time, but there are basic reference models and implementations of a connector that connects any stakeholder to the space of data where you can have sovereignty and share what you want and enable a specific use case. As I said, any details, anytime, please reach out, because this is just, let's say, paving the way to it's an exciting journey. Here, when I talk about data space, data sharing, deriving SDOs and projects, TM Forum is one of them. Here are two examples of Catalyst projects that I championed there in TM Forum. So, for example, one it was called Telco Data Space. There was Catalyst 1 and Catalyst 2. So it was two consecutive projects with different partners, Europe, US, India, Infosys, etc. So what worked in the first two catalysts was about, let's say, enabling negotiation among stakeholders to optimize the process of data sharing. So you send a request of what kind of data you need to be shared with you to enable a certain use case. You set the conditions. So there's an iterative negotiation process. There is dynamic criteria and parameter change. So you can also, on the fly, when you share data, you can share data regarding what kind of SLA do you need, on the fly. So you can share specific, let's say, operational or performance-related metrics. We worked on a solution which, let's say, adapts to the communication and market regulations. Of course, you have to be conform to different regulators because it's a vertical, let's say, compliance plane, etc. And you can see on the lower central part that in ODA from TM Forum of Digital Architecture, you have lots of APIs which are all labeled that you can already use and build on. So if you want to, let's say, index your data or your products, you need to do, let's say, some index search. You need to, let's say, categorize data. You need to fill in some template. All these have a large library of hundreds of APIs, and you can do your own, let's say, additional development, API enhancement, or new ones when you want to put this in place. So this data management thing is growing in a modular way in the forum. And the other catalyst we did, I will show briefly some insights in it. It was about AI-powered cooperation for efficient networks. So how do you enable, let's say, green use cases where you enable, let's say, resource minimization, optimization, triggered or powered by AI, because AI has access to more data, so you can intelligently manage your resources. I will come to this in a couple of slides. Sustainability, standardization landscape, we have, as I said, limited efforts in different SDOs. I would like to see more, but some examples are, for example, of course, it's technology driven, but also backed by a business model, and of course, with a societal component, because it's in the end for the people and for the planet. ITU has this SG5, study group 5, which is on environment, climate change, and circular economy. And it works on, let's say, adapted to climate change, energy efficiency in technology. So in every part, like RAN, core, in everything. And also one aspect that we also, as Vodafone, work very heavily with, e-waste reduction. So how do you make things circular? How do you reduce e-waste and circle back or feed back the e-waste into the cycle to enable a better, let's say, footprint or smaller carbon footprint. ETSI also has one ISG, so pre-standardization group, which is operational energy efficiency for users. Similar thing, of course, ETSI tries to look just like 3GP at the end-to-end view of a network and end-user devices. GSMA also has a what we call climate action task force. Same thing. So GSMA is about the RAN and the mobile part. So they look at how this thing can look at stability at the same time while operating. Okay, so still a bit high level, a little bit concrete, but I would like to see more. Then some exciting examples of use case. I will not go into too much depth, but just give you some insights. So from the TM forum catalyst that we did, we implemented some use cases there. Some examples are in telco data sharing space. So when you share data and data structures with stakeholders, we had the use case. It was called steering roaming. So it means that as you are a user, you are moving, networks share data with each other and with you through a broker. You can see what is the best choice of a network, of what services you can get, how to optimally use your plan and get the maximum that you want in terms of SLAs and and leverage. Trusted AI models was also with a couple of SMEs we implemented. It's about AI-based number crunching or specific context specialized, let's say, ISVs, independent software vendors, so small companies that dock to an operator, and they use AI to, let's say, do certain computations, recommendations, and the operator is the one providing this based on a trust relationship. So there was this trust AI models, set of use cases. Energy saving in general, of course, it can be just through having more access to information. You can have a consolidated view and optimal way to, let's say, allocate your resources and maybe shut down some of the unused infrastructure. I will show this in the lower part of the slide now. And we also had a use case called minimizing drive test. So as you are moving as a mobile user, you can have in an app to activate certain metrics that you capture and gather for certain purposes, and you disable some of them, and then you minimize this way, let's say, the amount of data that you're acquiring, and you only have targeted access of data. So minimizing risk of, let's say, leakage and using, let's say, targeted data exactly specific for a use case. Here, the lower part shows another green AI-driven resource management use case. This is just a diagram of two operators with overlapping coverage, blue and red. Can be anything. In our case, it was Vodafone and Orange. And then when you look at it, you see that there is too much coverage, even with RAN, with radio access, with edge. And then we saw that, okay, if the user total load is not exceeding, let's say, or not even coming close to what both these operators can provide, how about we do a consolidated view of the demand that is there through AI, through gathering, let's say, application demand, profiling, and looking at history and extrapolating. And then we designed a new network, which is just, let's say, a thin version of what two operators own, where you have a lot of elements shut off. So base stations, the RAN parts shut down, and then one operator will take charge of, let's say, customers of both, and then they take turns and it goes in the reverse. So we had something which was called on-guard tour, like a cyclical, let's say, taking turns in covering the demand, and in this way switching off, let's say, overlapping coverage entities. Then you have a much more efficient flow, lower carbon footprint. We showcased this last year in Copenhagen. So this is basically one example of what you can do with AI. So you gather intelligent applications on users on demand. You see what operators can cover in terms of, let's say, resources, and then you optimize, remodel the whole thing, and you supply. And then you have cycles, where they take turns. So this is one example here on the lower part of the slide. Maybe on a subsequent session, we can go in details if this is of interest. So the role of data and AI, data spaces and big data, they are, of course, critical for efficient operations, because the more you know on certain aspects, the more you can act. You need data, even real-time data, etc. And there are many cases that today emerge. Digital twins is a data-hungry, let's say, use case, but very powerful. Enables, let's say, safer operation, experimenting. You can also enhance productivity with more data access, to optimize your machines, your processes. And of course, you have to have sustainable resources. So you have to manage your resources in a sustainable way across sectors. You need data access. Yeah, applications, whether generative or non-generative, they both profit, and they need data. It's actually their oil or fuel. In the generative AI aspect, you can look at simultaneous handling of, let's say, performance or functional, let's say, needs in a network. You can increase efficiency. You can have assistive, let's say, functions, basic automation, etc. Non-generative AI, it also optimizes network operations, let's say, in a built-in cycles, not as an assistive, let's say, direct entity, but as a built-in automated operation efficiency. And the same goes for energy use. So it's by design. And especially the most, let's say, data or energy consuming part is the RAN, of course. Scalability in 6G, it incorporates scalability as a core aspect. So we say by design. The same goes for basic AI for provisioning, for basic security in 6G. Things are native. Scalability is one of them. So it's incorporated by design into the network and not put on top because it doesn't work to do a 6G system and then say now put something on top to make it sustainable. It should be by design native, innate, coming out of the network. And of course, society and environmental aspects are key in 6G. It is a promoting factor, so it has to be really handled well. Some aspect of standardization, especially in data-driven green use cases, there's some work there. There's this ISEC, let's say, project, which is integrated sensing and communications. So it's a built-in, let's say, procedure that enables better, let's say, awareness of how energy is spent and where it's going and what you really need. It is, of course, dominated currently by 3GP and HC. David mentioned the previous presentation, HexaX project. It focuses on 6G use cases for immersive smart cities, telepresence, emphasizing stability and energy efficiency. Then you have the ITU and 6G commercial deployment in ITU. It is called IMT 2030 and beyond, so they have a different terminology than 5 and 6G, but it's the same objectives actually there. And stability focus in 6G overall, it is to minimize, of course, the footprint, the impact on the environment, and design operations which are more efficient in themselves and back to the network, which will be, let's say, less energy consuming in a way. Okay. And then finally, to conclude, before we move to the poll part, I just like to say that the connection between data space and sustainability is multifold. So there are different, let's say, relationships there and the trade-offs, etc. AI, of course, it feeds on data, which is the new oil, and it enables a strong grip on beyond 5G and 6G use cases, because it can then, data could enable automation, leveraging of the potential of the use case from the knowledge that you acquire through sharing data, and you can shape the behavior of a use case the way you want when you have more data access. In 6G, sustainability and basic AI, they are, as I said, by design, becoming part of the operational model. So you don't need to put the top down onto the system. And after a journey looking at the transition from 5G to 6G in this webinar series, and look at the SDO landscape on most, let's say, mega trends and standards, and the relationship between data and AI, as we did today, and sustainability standards. So the way is, let's say, paved for a new set of, let's say, thinking of new topics, which build on what we already showcased in these three parts. And with that, I would like to end my presentation. Thank you for listening. And as soon as Claudia Maria, to move to the, I think, 2 polls that we put there, or 3 polls. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Muslim, for your presentation. I think it was very useful for us to also understand a bit, sort of the landscape that is now occurring within the standardization related practices linked to use cases, negotiating topics that are really relevant for our current world, which are obviously environmental related use cases. But it was really useful to also have a landscape view of what's going on, and also the connection with the projects that are nowadays dealing with these topics, right? So I found it really informative. This was very nice. Thank you so much for your help and
Thank you so much.
tackling this topic. I have included in the chat the link to the polls, so please visit the link and vote so that I can then present, let's say, the slides one by one and show you the response to the different polls. Let me start sharing my screen.
Yeah, please, can you stop my share? I didn't find where to stop sharing.
Yeah, no worries.
Take over the screen, please. Thank you.
If I share, yours is gonna be stopped, okay? Yes, so these are the questions that Muslim has for us. These are really interesting, I think. The first one is, which of the following do you see as a logical, natural continuation of the current webinar series? So again, this is a question not only related to the presentation Muslim just gave us, just delivered, but also about what you expect next for the future, whether you think this is relevant, what we're doing, and what could, the next topics be.
Yeah.
So the first one would be 6G use cases and verticals, architectures, and backing by standards. The second one is the role of AI in underlay, overlay, and data processing in various applications. Then we have data spaces, data-driven services, data sharing, and the role of data in 6G. And another suggestion that you can then highlight, perhaps by leaving a comment in the Q&A part. So far, we have 3 votes, and the role of AI in underlay, overlay, and data processing in various applications seems to be the most liked one by the audience.
If I may add, just so this exactly to see the tendency. So I think we have in the first 3 options, there are the 3 main, let's say, powerful trends. One is the verticals that 6G is trying to put, let's say, to enable better. The second one is AI focused. We're getting another vote there. And the third is the data dimension. So I'm not surprised, as you said, Claudio, that from the 3 trends that are there, AI still, let's say, dominates. So it will be maybe the most, which requires maybe depth and more, let's say, use cases. So I think this vote really reflects what people outside are thinking, because we have 3 powerful trends. The middle one, AI, seems to have the most traction, which is quite realistic.
Yes, indeed, I agree with that. And also, it is interesting though that at least we did tackle AI a lot throughout the web series, especially also with Tazo's presentations. So at least we are sort of on the right track with this. I mean, the 3 trends are really relevant, I think, but obviously AI is kind of the gold rush right now, right? And so, yeah, obviously it makes sense that there is more interest for that rather than the rest. But also, like I would say, verticals, at least they do have a connection, because with AI you can enable more vertical applications, right? So in the end, there is a connection between these 2 trends.
Absolutely, they're all connected. Absolutely.
Okay, nice. I think, again, it's still growing, so there are still votes coming in, which is nice. There is a lot of reactions. I would move to the next one.
Yes, please, Claudio.
If you don't mind. So I'm sharing now the second one. So please go on the same link and vote now. You should have now the next question appearing for you to express your preference. The second question, well, I mean, if you want, Muslim, you can comment it by yourself.
Yeah, definitely, sure, please. Yeah. So this is what I see that after people, let's say, work in their research in the industry, in standardization, and they saw this webinar series. So where do you see yourself as a working person? Of course, this influenced this result of the vote also by where you work or what kind of company you work for, but also where you find your passion. So it has a part which is related to, let's say, driving the standards on these key aspects like the network architectures, data space, and AI. So this is, say, pushing standards forward. Or if you say standards are already mature enough, we need to have more, let's say, applications, use cases building on them. This could be maybe your weight where you put your let's say, main bulk of work. And the third one, the option is about bridging R&D work, which is, let's say, cutting edge innovation with the real world, let's say, as an intermediate step. So the standards that, transform the R&D results into industry relevant stuff. So the answer here depends on 2 things: what kind of company you work for, and also where is your passion. And it's nice to see, let's say, quite a variation in these things, and also to see that since Claudio, we have, let's say, the first factor, which is, let's say, driving standards even more forward with the new mega trends, AI and data, etc. It means that people believe that standards need to deliver more to be more easily usable, to be more, let's say, leveraged. So I also agree. We cannot, I mean, if you don't vote for the option 1, it would mean that standards are so advanced that we just need to build on them. And there is not much room currently for, but this is actually the reverse. So I'm happy to see also this voting result here.
Yes, thank you, Muslim. I think it's a good way to tackle this. I think also what this showcases as well is that we need more work on, let's say, at the basis, right, at the very basis, which is contributing to standards, elaborating standards that can incorporate more dimensions, more tech dimensions, right? Within current research efforts. And also we need to try to bridge the gap between R&D and SDOs, right? So, which is a bit what we have been trying to do. But again, the fact that the second option is the least voted, it means that there is more work to be done at the base rather than at the top, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, we are still in a moment where we need to negotiate all these issues. for then being able to build applications, right? On emerging standards that are based on standards that are already there. So
Yes.
interesting polls.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Third and last one, right?
Yes.
This is the last one on your side.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Please.
just so here I was asking our dear audience. So what do you miss most in current developments in standard organizations, seminars, and stakeholder events? So what would you like to see more of? Is it, let's say, a coordinated approach where you consolidate the work of different SDOs and their collaboration? In 6G, the collaboration of SDOs is a bit better, but in 5G and before it has been a very scattered disaster. So this could be one option. Another one is that collaboration between SDOs, like ETSI, ITU, 3GP, and other stakeholders like the R&D players, the industry. So in the ecosystem, better collaboration. And third option was a clear big picture of standard and technology trends, because it's hard to put a taxonomy or a full view of all these things, how they all, let's say, interrelate. So maybe this could be driven by some project to have, let's say, a clear map of all these things for people to see. And the fourth, which is also interesting, is a role-based model. So who is doing what in driving, let's say, things forward in order to build better synergies, and it all connects to both to technology, to business, and to standards. So to have, let's say, a clear role model, maybe endorsed by different SDOs later or by players. So these are the things that is to see wishful thinking, what people would like to see more. Maybe they can even build part of what they would like to see. So
I find it really interesting, the response that we're getting, because I think that number 2 and number 4 are sort of more about sort of practical, measures that are needed, rather than 1 and 3, which are more sort of high level. So what appears clear is that people need precise indications, right, on how to proceed and what's the landscape is looking like, but more specifically, who is doing what. It's not really about getting a high level picture. I think trends are already evident. We have a lot of discussions on that. What is really missing, yes, it's SDOs engaging R&D community, R&D and the other way around, as number 2 reflects. But also, most importantly, who is doing what? Who you need to talk to, for specific
absolutely role focused, exactly, Claudio. Because, for example, most standards, ITU, HCD, GP, they tell you how something would look like, how it could be used. But the role-based perspective, which is 4, which I'm very happy to see has the most votes, it's actually what stakeholder or entity in this, let's say, canvas or is doing what exactly. So role is more of the responsibility. It enables better driving forward things and to bridge to the practical side, because once the roles are clear, the process is very smooth. So that's why very happy to see this. Thanks to the audience for voting this way.
Yeah, no, great answers, actually. Thanks to the audience, actually, for providing great answers and great discussion points. Okay, so if there are no more questions in the Q&A or anybody wants to say anything, I'll give it another minute. Otherwise, I would move to the next presentation. Okay, I'll stop sharing my screen for now. If anybody has any comments or anything else, you can write in the chat or even speak up. Otherwise, I would give the floor to our third, actually, and last speaker of the day, also another of our fellow companions in this joint journey, Tassos Douglas, once again, also talking about sustainability, goals in 6G. So the 2 presentations are really intertwined today. We felt that, talking about verticals, the environmental topics was really relevant. Again, we are just scraping the surface here, but hopefully you'll get more insights and potential discussion point. And there are 4 more polls from Tassos at the end of his presentation, so bear with us. And yeah, Tassos, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Yes, good morning. I think you can see my screen, right? Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks, Claudio, for the introduction. My presentation is going to be complementary of Muslims. So again, I'm going to discuss some of the important sustainability topics for 6G. First of all, it is important to remind to everybody what is about the use case scenarios and what will be the goals for 6G. And as you will see, sustainability is one of the important goals besides connectivity, ubiquitous intelligence, and security and resilience. So we need to see how we can design, let's say, the sustainability or how to make the 6G sustainable as well. So it is important, let's say, from these use cases to highlight some of the 6G capabilities. So from the communication perspective, topics like coverage and integrated sensing and communication are quite important for resilience, confidentiality, integrity, and availability. I have highlighted some capabilities that have direct impact to the sustainability. One is the AI native architecture. That means how to be able to build a workload management network architecture in order to apply analytics in different areas of the network for different types of functionality. So it is about how to collect data in order to, first of all, to facilitate the accuracy in the inference of the models. And of course, other aspect is from this data harvesting collection is the model latency when you deal with a lot of data coming from different nodes. And from the green aspect is about the network efficiency, how to deal with carbon, all right? And of course, the battery requirements, all right, when you are redesign the network, taking into account these new 6G capabilities. So a key question is whether we are discussing about sustainable 6G or 6G for sustainability. Regarding the sustainable 6G, we must take in consideration that the 6G networks must minimize any negative impact on sustainability. This objective means that the direct impact from the networks and the computing infrastructure must be reduced across environmental, societal, and economic and sustainable domains. This is also deals with the resource consumption, which is the focus in terms of the energy and the material used, but also with respect to any other impact from production process and from using the systems and the services. Furthermore, this technology must be socially sustainable, meaning that the use of resources is well used. On the other hand, we have 6G for sustainability. What's the meaning of that? This means that the 6G network should contribute to an overall sustainable development in society by allowing the transformation of other sectors than just ICT itself. This objective means that the 6G networks must be designed to support existing and novel activities to enable a positive sustainability impact, to produce benefits when scaled across different society and verticals. Equally important will be to avoid any usage with adverse effects. So it is important to consider that maybe even a need to move away from certain use cases if they are identified that these use cases may have impact, a negative impact on the society itself. Looking now more technical details about the energy, right, which is an important element in on 5G and tower 6G. You will see on the left side in this slide, the radio part contributes to almost 73% to the energy. Looking more about the details regarding the RAN, because this is an important element from the energy consumption point of view, you will see the radio processing contributes to almost 40%, and another important factor, critical factor, is the air conditioning systems within the RAN itself. We shouldn't forget that we are migrating from 5G tower 6G, that we are introducing IT computing within the network itself. So the network itself has been transformed to a kind of data center. So we need to see what will be the case of the energy consumption with the data center. And you will notice again that the cooling, along with the computing and storage, contribute to more to around 85% of the consumption itself. So we need also to see what will be the key verticals regarding the sustainability expectations. We can start with manufacturing. So the whole goal is to monitoring and manage the energy and the water usage. And the goal here is to reduce the carbon emission and leveraging, of course, renewable energy for power with contributions to 20 to 30% of the reduction in the manufacturing. Another area is the smart agriculture. So using real-time data that can be collected from IoT systems as well as in drones, we can have a more efficient, accurate pesticide spraying solutions. So the aim goal is to reduce the pesticide use by 50%. Another important element is the energy itself. Why is that? Because through the 5G connected smart grids, we can reduce the gas and electricity consumption. And of course, the introduction of 6G, we can further accelerate that progress. Of course, we shouldn't forget that the ICT industry itself has a very large footprint and is projected to rise significantly. Why is that? Because of the use of AI in different applications, different verticals, and the adoptions of AI-based hardware solutions. Of course, the wireless communication industry is a big part of the ICT sector. And of course, one of the primary objectives is to further reduce the energy usage, as I showed in the previous slide. So we need to see that the sustainability itself can be a very complex goal, and this needs to engage different expertise from different sectors, so we can have a kind of multidisciplinary approach. This figure illustrates the complexity of the sustainability for future mobile networks. The routes illustrates the topics for life cycle management, ranging from raw materials to production to waste, recycling, use, and transport. And then the branches illustrate some of the associated categories and technologies to meet the sustainability goals. Now, if we need to be more specifics about the energy, which is an important topic. First of all, the energy savings started a few years back with emphasis on the user equipment. So there are a couple of features and capabilities with respect to UE power saving. We have some technologies like discontinuous reception and the new radio resource control, transition from what is called RRC inactive to RRC connected, involving less signaling overhead, use of wake-up signal, the number of antennas for both uplink and downlink can affect, the frequency of the radio resource management measurements, and the use of paging early indication. The UE needs to monitoring paging occasions to respond to incoming network messages, for example, when we have an incoming call. In the same time, we need to take into consideration the network savings that we can achieve. Don't forget that we are moving towards the virtualization of the network infrastructure. We need to take into consideration the hardware evolution from simple CPUs towards tensor processing units and network processing units, of course, GPUs. There is a need for energy management for recording the energy consumptions at the hardware level. So this is something that this can be an opportunity. because there are not many tools, especially for the new hardware, to measure in an accurate manner the energy consumed. Also, we need to take into consideration the virtualization and evolution. We started with VMs, and we are shifting, let's say, to a more efficient and lightweight runtime environment from containers to unit kernels and web assembly. In the same time, we need to take into considerations that there is this trend of AI workloads. There is a need to green design the AI to ensure that the implementation with Excel resource benefits. And then we have already discussed even on previous, let's say, talks, different AI technologies that can be introduced on 6G for different functions, all right? In the same time, we have, let's say, already initiatives regarding energy savings at the run level to have efficient beam management. There is an important, let's say, technology in 6G. Electromagnetic properties can be further and dynamically adjusted, and the use of distributed MIMO, where in a wide coverage area they can jointly serve UEs using the same resources. Of course, moving forward to other types of, let's say, considerations regarding the network itself, we are talking about network automation and orchestration, where technologies like virtual network functions and network slicing can play an important role. So it's from the energy perspective, how we can move compute loads to data centers that have access to renewable energy sources. Also, in 6G, the edge can play play an important role. So due to the higher power consumption in idle mode, servers in part load also generally do not operate in an energy efficient manner. So this implies how to, let's say, manage and orchestrate that server. So to operate ideally in maximum load. So nodes that they don't have load can be, let's say, operate in idle mode. Of course, the need to push the machine learning and analytics in the edge implies that you have less data that needs to be transferred in the network, so less energy consumption and the need of sending the data to a center. And of course, another aspect regarding the edge is the management of outages and failures that may occur, because it is a system that has less reliability compared, let's say, to a central cloud system. Some of the important aspects regarding KPIs for energy and power efficiency, we are discussing about the power consumption, of course, in watts, the energy consumption, which is the amount of power used over a period of time. The energy efficiency implies the ratio of output performance in good or service to the energy with respect to the energy input. The power efficiency in percentage of the output power as compared to input power, and energy performance. So how we can measure the megabit that can be provided by a network with respect to the energy. What is important now is how to take in considerations energy metrics in order to make decisions in different parts of the network, starting from the RAN to the core part of the network. So we have different expectations regarding and the sustainability and efficiency, starting from short term when we are discussing about process optimization, to medium term when we have engineering optimization, and long term we can have new technology enablers. The pathway to climate goal, because this is also one of the goals on sustainability. So how can have a clear pathway for companies to reduce the greenhouse gas emission. Everybody nowadays is talk about the global warming. So how we can further reduce that by 1.5 degrees of Celsius. And net zero also it's an important target at global level, so to manage both in short term and long term the CO2 reduction targets. If we would like to see different activities with respect to the sustainability, first of all, it's the ISO when it tackles the environmental management. First of all, there is a committee regarding the life cycle management, which is has specified the methodology to quantify the environmental impact to processes, products, and services. There is also another committee with respect to greenhouse gas management. Then the next generation mobile network alliance has discussed about how to design mobile networks green, how to make them green. This implies the footprint calculation on end-to-end regarding the service delivery, and also how to make the networks energy efficient. There is the Alliance for Telecommunication Industry Solution, when there is the Green G working group. The aim is to reduce the energy consumption environmental impact on future wireless systems. In 3GPP, regarding the savings and the energy footprint, we started from LTE with network saving in the signaling. On UE or savings, we started further on further releases. So there is also discussion for further power savings for devices with reduced capabilities. That means devices like wearables and smartwatches. And of course, the RAN, how to make the RAN consumption, and the fact now that we are moving towards the roadmap of 6G, it is important to see how we can further reduce the energy footprint, because as we saw previously, RAN it's themselves contribute a lot. Then we've got ETSI, when there is a life cycle assessment on ICT goods, product, services, since application is regulated by the ISO standards. There is, let's say, work with respect to energy efficiency for wireless access network and equipment core networks. There is a need for defining the efficiency metrics for both equipment and network. How to be able to measure the footprint when the network on different components of the network are on standby mode. And of course, how to facilitate the circular economy. Also, in ITU, there is a study group 5 with let's say, emphasis on environmental and circular economy topics. And ETSI and ITU are working together to develop technically aligned standards on energy efficiency, power feeding solutions, circular economy, network efficiency, KPI, and design requirements. I think, as I mentioned, there is a lot of, let's say, work that can be done in standardization, taking into account not only the how to make the network sustainable, but also how we can use a new type of materials in order to make, let's say, the system sustainable. On the slides, I show also that the cooling plays an important role. how to further reduce the energy consumption. And there is a lot of activity. So sustainability itself can be considered as a kind of multidisciplinary also topic, even from the standards. And there's a lot of work that is needed from RDO in order to produce new solutions that can be shifted to standards. I suggest now to move to the let's say to the poll. I think that I have already shared with Claudio few questions to share with the audience. And yes.
Thank you, Tassos. Thank you so much for your presentation. I think it was a very good complement to what Muslim explained before, also because you provided more technical insights and kind of a bit of a layered structure to how, you know, look at requirements based on different technological tires. Thanks a lot. And let's move to the polls. I will share my screen now. This is the last interactive section, so please bear with us and vote. Yes, once again, the link is in the chat. So if you are using that link, you should now be to the first slide of Tassos' presentation, which is what is expected in short-term run energy efficient strategy. Please, Tassos, if you want to go ahead and explain.
Yeah. So there are three types of let's say answers. The first one is about how to make automation based on some rules. A typical rule can be, for example, if let's say we move towards the end of the day, all right, during night or early days in the morning, we can, let's say, have some rules with respect to putting some of the run infrastructure in idle mode. Multi-run coordination implies how we can use the baseband, the same baseband infrastructure from different technologies. So we can have the same cabinet that can serve different technologies. And the final one is how we can automate using AI. As expected, they can see a lot of people, they have selected AI because the AI can make also good predictions what is happening. And based on the information collected from different elements, you can you can let's say decide whether a run can be you can either shut down or you can put that in idle mode. On the other hand, the fact that we have AI, we need to take in consideration is not only that we can optimize, we need also to take into considerations the green implication of using AI, because the AI, to be accurate, implies collection of several data from different subsystems and components. If we move to the next one.
So it seems we have a really prevalent answers towards the third one, right? AI-based automation.
Yes. It was expected somehow, this kind of answer.
Makes sense. Let's move to the next one. Yes. Okay, so what is expected in medium-term run energy efficient strategy? So the response are radio unit optimization, baseband unit optimization, loss in antennas. Would you like to comment on this?
Yes. So the first one is about as you as we saw before with some of the information collected. When we're talking about the run is an important element, all right, in the energy consumption. Radio unit optimization is not only about the baseband, but also if you saw about the cooling system itself. So how to be able, let's say, to design the radio part. The second one is more specific regarding the basement unit optimization. As I mentioned, we expect in the future, I mean, as the technology evolves, we can have 5G, 6G, or 7G, any kind of G technology. So how we can share, let's say, the BBU, and nowadays also we are discussing about the O-RAN, so the disaggregation between the DU and RU. So the fact of being able to optimize that. And finally, the loss in antennas, because at the end of the day, the antennas themselves can play an important role. Don't forget that we are talking about the massive MIMO technologies like RIS can deal and provide and handle these losses and provide better efficiency in terms of the expected throughput. So I fully agree that most of the people voted, especially with the radio unit optimization, because this is not only about the basement itself, how to design, all right, the radio unit, all right, by taking into account the evolution also on materials, right? I mentioned about evolution and new innovation, how to optimize the cooling, which is also an important element from the energy consumption point of view.
Right. Sounds great. Thank you for the explanation. Let's move to the third one. What is the expected in long-term run energy efficiency strategy? Overall qualification, distributed MIMO, reconfigurable internet surfaces, liquid cooling. Would you like to comment on this?
Yeah. So the first one is also with is related to the first one, using of AI to optimize the radio part, the O-RAN itself, and the fact that we have the RIC, which is an important element that makes decisions. We can use the cloudification and the AI in order even to optimize and to idle functionalities in the RAN itself. Distributed MIMO is also a technology that can provide better coverage, especially in ultra densified environments. As I can see also, the RIS also is an important technology in 6G that can further optimize the coverage and make the systems more robust with respect to 6G. And liquid cooling is a technology coming from the material. It's not necessarily something related to telecoms, but it's a technology that different people working on materials are looking how to further optimize the cooling. As we saw before, the cooling also plays an important role. And I can see that many people have selected the configurable intelligent surface, the RIS part, because the RIS part can further, let's say, optimize and fine tune in certain scenarios the coverage, achieving better throughput, so we can have a better optimization with respect to the energy required for the runs.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you for commenting on this. Let's move to the fourth and last one. What is the most important challenge in SDOs regarding sustainability? LCA adoption, energy metrics, new technology, and coverage planning, green design of AI. Would you like to comment on this?
Yeah, so the life cycle is the tree that I explained. So to find out the different, let's say, sustainability goals and how the sustainability are linked with different technologies that enables that. The second one is about the energy metrics, how to use energy metrics in order to make decisions in different parts of the network. We have the new technologies that can improve both coverage and planning when you do the 6G deployment, like distributed MIMO. And of course, how to make the AI green. As I mentioned before, the fact that we're using AI doesn't necessarily mean that we have the system, we have a sustainable solution. In order to have a robust and challenge AI, we need a lot of data. And also we have special hardware like GPUs or TPUs or NPUs that are needed in order to process and manage all this data. So that's why I see a lot of the presenters mainly have voted for option number 4, which is the green design of AI.
Yes, sounds like very pertinent in this sense too. So I think we reached a consensus in most of the answers. And yeah, and once again, AI being the really hot topic here.
Yeah.
Everybody else. I think we do not have a last one. Yes, this is the end of our presentation, the end of our whole session too. So thank you very much, Tassos, for bearing with us and for your presentation, for your contribution, for these questions, which were also very interesting. I stopped sharing my screen here, and so we reached the end of our third and last event. So I would like to thank everybody for being with us, the speakers, especially the speakers for the commitment, the SNS projects that have presented, also the 5G projects that have presented in the past iterations of this event. I would like to thank the audience for participating, for always giving us a contribution. I do not know if there are other questions for our speakers, but otherwise I would call it a day because we're all busy, we all have things to do. I don't know if our two speakers, Muslim and Tassos, would like to add anything.
I would just like to thank the audience and you and this nice concept, and I hope that we'll get some feedback, what things people would like to see to really take it from there, to build on what we did so far. Just a big thank you, nice idea, and looking forward to building on it together with our community, including, of course, the audience.
I would like to also to thank you, Claudio and Maria, for organizing these events, and also I would like to thank the participants. I don't know if there are any questions or something that needs better clarification from today's presentations.
I think it's a good point, Tassos, and I think what I'm doing now, I'm leaving my email address in the chat once again. You can always also get in touch with me by writing on the SNS website, because the people know that I'm behind this, and the people that are dealing with the website will redirect to me any queries or questions. But please feel free to send me a message, and I can forward it to Tassos and Muslim too. Also, if you have questions about the previous presentations, everything is already uploaded online on the HSbooster YouTube channel. And what I would like to also add is that we will, no likelihood, produce a report containing very practical advices for projects, for the R&D community at large, but also for SDOs, for policymakers, on how to sort of bridge gaps, what we've been trying to do in this event series. And we hope to be able to present this report already in the HSbooster stand, which will be present at EuCNC conference. So hopefully we will, actually not hopefully, but we will need to really dive deep into this for a couple of weeks extra. Tassos and Muslim will also be very prominent and important for this publication. So please bear with us, and more updates will follow at EuCNC, hopefully already. But this document will be printed, but also it will be uploaded online for free per use of the audience. So feel free to also be considered as a rolling document, so there might be more iterations. So feel free to then provide any comments for us to improve it as we go forward. So without further ado, I would like to thank everybody once again, and also Jessica and Astralo for support throughout the whole event series, and for the next IAFAs that will take place, we are running a lot of events in parallel on different topics. So stay abreast of the next ones, and have a good day, everybody. See you soon.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.